This is Homework Hints for National 5, due Tuesday the 2nd of February. Question 1A is a surds question. We want to simplify each term by finding the highest square factor of that number. Now we can use the other terms in the expression to try and give us a hint. So for example, we've got a root 2. So let's see if we can divide root 72 by root 2. So 72 divided by 2 gives us 36, and 36 is a square number. So let's change root 72 into root 2 times root 36. Okay, now you can do it the other way by just thinking about all the factors of 72 and working your way up, trial and error, until you get to the highest one you can. Root 2 we can't do anything with, that's as simple as that's going to get, so we'll leave that as it is. And then we've got a root 2 here, a root 2 in the second term. So can we divide root 50 by root 2? Well, yes we can, and we get a nice square number again, so we get root 2 times root 25, because 2 times 25 is 50. Okay, the next step, you can simplify your root 36, you can simplify your root 25, and then it's just collecting like terms, so you should end up with an answer of something in terms of root 2. Part B of question 1 asks you to express this in its simplest form. So this is laws of indices. We need to know that if we are multiplying, then the powers are added. So we end up with a to the power of n plus m. If we are dividing, then the powers are subtracted. Okay? So before you do anything, you're going to multiply the numbers on top, because we can do that first. So 3 times 4 is 12, and then we're going to have y to the power of 5 add minus 1, and then all over 6y. Once you've got that, you can then divide your numbers. So your second step, divide your numbers, and then divide your powers. So you're going to end up with a number times y to the power of something. And remember, when you're dividing, you can do the n minus m. So subtract your powers from one another. Question 2, you need to multiply out the brackets. First thing you're going to do is this x plus 1 all squared, just change it to x plus 1 times x plus 1, so it's easier to multiply it out. You are then going to multiply everything in the first bracket by everything in the second bracket. Okay, and do the same for that one. And then simplify. So first step is multiply out the brackets, second step is simplify by collecting like terms. For question 3, it's factorising. I'm first of all going to take my 6, my coefficient of x squared, and times it by negative 10 and put it over here, and I'm going to list all my factors of negative 60. My first one that comes to my head is minus 6 times 10, however when we add those two numbers together we don't get minus 11, which is what we're looking for. Minus 5 and 12, again we don't get minus 11. Minus 4 and 15, we don't get minus 11, but we would get positive 11, so I'm just going to try swapping over the minus sign. So I'm going to do 4 and minus 15 instead. 4 minus 15 gives me minus 11, so I know I can use that set of factors. I'm now going to just rewrite this initial equation, 6x squared, but instead of minus 11x, I'm going to write plus 4x minus 15x. I'm just going to use my factors instead, which added together still gives me minus 11x, so it's the same numbers. And then you need to look at the first two terms and find a common factor, then the second two terms and find a common factor. So you'll end up with, so for example, the first one, 6x squared plus 4x, well my common factor there is going to be 2x. And then in the brackets, you're going to have 3x plus 2. And that tells you that your second set of brackets you're going to need is also 3x plus 2. So you just need to find your common factor in your second two terms to put outside the brackets. You're then going to have 3x plus 2 and 2x plus or minus whatever's here, and that will give you your two sets of brackets. Question 4, simultaneous equations. So we want either the x terms or the y terms to have the same coefficient. The easiest one for me looking at this is to change the y term in the first equation. So in order to do that, I'm going to multiply everything in that equation by 2 so that I get 4y. So my new equation is going to be 6x plus 4y equals -8. I then want to add my first equation and my second equation together. Now, if this was positive 4y, and then this equation was positive 4y, you would need to do the first equation, take away the second equation, because you want to cancel out the 4y's. Because we've got a plus and a minus, we can just add the two equations together. So, my first step, 6x plus x is 7x. 4y minus 4y is just 0. And -8 minus 6 is -14. You can then solve for x. Once you've got your x value, you can substitute this back into one of your equations and rearrange to get your value for y. Question 5, you're given 2 points and you want to find the equation of the line. So the first thing you need to write down is the equation that you're going to use for the line. So y minus b equals m times x minus a. Now your b and your a, that can be any of the 2 points that you're given. So I'm going to just use a equals 8 and b equals 1. The only reason I've chosen point b to use is to avoid using the negative numbers, but you can use either a or b. So I've got my a and my b, but I don't know what my gradient is. So in order to find that, I first of all need to work out my y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Sub the points from a and b into your formula to get your gradient. Once you've then got your gradient, you can sub your a, b and m into this formula here and rearrange it so that it's in the form y equals mx plus c. Expressing algebraic fractions as a single fraction, your first step is going to be to multiply everything on this side by x and everything on this side by x plus 5 so that they have the same denominator, and then we can just add them. So first step then, 3 over x times x plus 5, so I'm going to get 3 times x plus 5 over x times x plus 5 plus 1 times x over x times x plus 5. Now I've done that, I can rewrite that as a single fraction. So 3 times x plus 5 plus x all over x times x plus 5. It does ask for it in its simplest form, so you then need to multiply out the brackets. Okay, question 1 on the calculator side. You are given a circle with a square in the middle of it. We're told the radius of the circle is 6 centimetres. So that tells us if we're in the centre and we go out to the edge of the circle, it's 6. So from that we can make a right angle triangle. We can work out the area of the circle quite easily just by the information we're given. However, the area of the square, we need to know the length of one side of it. So in order to do that, we can use 6 and 6 and use Pythagoras to work out what we're going to call x. So we can say that x squared equals 6 squared plus 6 squared. Then you can work out your value for x. Once you've done that, you can work out the area of the square. You can also work out the area of the circle using the formula pi r squared. And it asks to calculate the unshaded area surrounding the square. So that's not you finished there, there's still one more step to go. Right, question 2. So we have 150 wood lice to begin with, and every 10 days it increases by 15%. So we want to know how many there will be in 30 days' time. So first of all, 30 divided by 10 is 3, so it's going to have increased 3 times. So the first thing we want to do is 100% plus 15, because it's increased, so it's plus 15, divided by 100. And that's going to be to the power of 3, because it's 3 lots of increases. And then we can multiply that by what it was initially to get our answer. And finally, question 3. We're told that in 2014, the cost of the holiday is £540. So we want to know what it is in 2013, or what it was in 2013. So there's been an increase of 8%. So if we say that in 2013, that was 100% of the cost of the holiday, okay? So that's what we're trying to work out. We want to know what 100% is. If there's been an increase of 8%, then we know that this is equal to 108%. So if we know that 108% equals £540, work out what 1% is, so divide. So divide that by the same number, and then you can multiply by 100 to get 100%.